Note: the video you are about to watch is based on public statements and open-source reports. In Ukraine, twilight looked peaceful, even eerily quiet, as if there was nothing dangerous on the horizon. However, this silence was broken when Ukrainian air defense personnel saw something moving at an incredible speed on their radar screens. They quickly discovered it wasn't a conventional missile. This was the Kinzhal, a hypersonic weapon with a speed of Mach 10. The alarms went off, but everything happened so fast. A massive explosion occurred in the soil below, while the sky glowed a bright red, signaling the beginning of a sensitive attack that would echo around the world. Reports began to come in from military channels and field sources shortly after the incident. Compared to others, a vital facility linked to Ukraine's F-16 operations was the target of the attack. The rapid spread of information was accompanied by conflicting reports and speculation. Photos from the region showed a large building resembling a hangar engulfed in flames. Analysts and the public immediately focused on the possibility that Russia was targeting Ukraine's most important future air assets, despite nothing being officially proven. Even the impact of a single attack had drawn attention from all over the world. If the site is truly connected to F-16 operations, Russia was hitting not just a building, but the heart of Ukraine's future air power. The F-16 is more than just a fighter jet. This represents Ukraine's desire to challenge Russian air superiority. However, without a support system, even the most advanced jet is nothing. Command centers, logistics centers, ammunition storage facilities, and maintenance hangars. Disabling the jets of aircraft before takeoff is equivalent to hitting this infrastructure. Therefore, the alleged Kinzhal strike quickly came to the forefront in discussions on military strategy. One of Russia's deadliest weapons is the Kinzhal Hypersonic missile. It was designed to easily evade modern air defense systems and has extremely fast maneuverability. Within minutes of being launched, it can travel hundreds of miles and strike its target with a precise, high-energy impact. If the F-16 base was truly struck by a Kinzhal, it would demonstrate Russia's willingness to use advanced weapons to neutralize threats before they even emerge. This shows how seriously Moscow takes the introduction of Western fighter jets into combat. According to satellite photos circulating online, a massive building believed to be an aircraft hangar or logistics center appeared to have sustained significant damage. The building looked shattered, with piles of rubble everywhere. Witnesses heard a powerful explosion, consistent with a high-yield weapon hitting with pinpoint accuracy. However, whether the location is linked to F-16 operations has not been confirmed by an official statement from Ukraine or its Western allies. Because early wartime information sometimes combines truth, assumption, and propaganda, analysts must be cautious due to this uncertainty. If the attack targeted an F-16 factory, it could have serious consequences for Ukraine. Kyiv may be forced to operate some of its aircraft from allied countries, move its aircraft further west, or hide them in dispersed locations. In short, these types of strikes are hindering Ukraine's ability to effectively deploy F-16s. Meanwhile, Russia's trend is becoming more apparent: destroy valuable assets before joining the war. Consequently, the mechanics of air combat could change, forcing Ukraine to reassess its defense strategy and strengthen security around all vital aircraft locations. In such situations, it becomes difficult to distinguish fact from fiction. While Ukraine might conceal information to protect operational security and the public, Russia could exaggerate the event to demonstrate technological superiority. Due to strict information control on both sides, the world is only receiving information in pieces that cannot be considered entirely accurate. To piece together what really happened, analysts have compared satellite data, impact patterns, and previous attacks. At the heart of this information cloud lies the alleged Kinzhal strike on the F-16 facility, which has sparked controversy on both sides. Regardless of the ultimate reality, this event indicates that air warfare has entered a much more dangerous phase. Who has more jets or missiles is no longer a matter of debate. This is about who can hit the ball straighter, faster, and further. While the F-16 represents Ukraine's effort to regain its airspace, the Kinzhal symbolizes incredible speed and destructive power. The conflict between fourth-generation fighter jets and hypersonic weapons is ushering in a new era of air combat, where a single successful attack has the power to change the course of the wider conflict. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine shows how quickly the battlefield can change with a single, precise strike. If an F-16 facility was truly hit by a Kinzhal, this could be evidence of Russia's plan to eliminate threats before they take flight. We constantly follow the developments on the front lines for you. The Russian armed forces targeted the Chernihiv thermal power plant, disrupting Ukraine's energy production. The Geran kamikaze drones used in the attack targeted the Chernihiv thermal power plant's turbine hall and gas-fired power plant. Published footage shows the Geran drones successfully approaching the target, causing maximum damage and disrupting Ukraine's energy infrastructure. In an attack using 4 Fab 500 missiles, guided by UMPK, fired from Russian Armed Forces jets, an anti-tank missile system belonging to the 225th Separate Regiment of the Ukrainian Armed Forces was destroyed in the village of Vilcha, Kharkiv region. As a result of a missile attack by the Russian Armed Forces, a dam near the village of Pechenihi in the Kharkiv Oblast suffered serious damage. A Russian FPV drone disrupted a Ukrainian infantry rotation in Kostiantynivka. Footage showed Ukrainian militants moving in vehicles through a residential area. Upon seeing the drone, Ukrainian soldiers began firing indiscriminately, but the drone hit its target, destroying the Ukrainian vehicle in front of it. In the Kharkiv region, a Russian infantryman shot down an FPV UAV belonging to Ukrainian forces preparing for an attack with effective shots. A rare Snatch armored vehicle belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces, despite being camouflaged, was destroyed by precision fire after being detected in the direction of Lyman by Russian FPV UAV operators. Footage of the moments when the Russian Geran-2 attack UAV flew towards its designated target over Ukrainian territory on the Kharkiv line. Drone operators from the Russian 123rd Brigade discovered a poorly concealed antenna for controlling Ukrainian armed forces UAVs in a forested area in the Seversk direction, and it was destroyed by the FPV UAV crew. Soldiers from the electrical and engineering units of the 58th Guards Combined Arms Army of the Russian Dnieper Group of Forces continue their mine clearance operations in the liberated areas of the Zaporizhia region of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. An FPV operator from the Rus Sever Group used a kamikaze drone to launch a precision attack on a Ukrainian Armed Forces ammunition robotic platform, located in a forested area near Verkhny Saltov in the Kharkiv region. The ammunition-laden platform was destroyed before it could reach Ukrainian soldiers. Russian FPV drone operators are obstructing Ukrainian armed forces infantry maneuvering on the eastern bank of the Oskol River in the Kharkiv region. Their fire control over Ukrainian troops' routes toward Kupiansk is increasing Ukrainian casualties. The Russian 33rd Motor Rifle Regiment, the 174th Separate Battalion, and a UAV company from the 150th Motor Rifle Division continued to destroy vehicles of the Ukrainian armed forces and armored vehicles carrying Ukrainian infantry in the Kostiantynivka direction. The crew of the 152mm Gyatsint B gun, part of the central group of forces of the Russian armed forces, destroyed a fortified stronghold of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Krasnoarmeysk direction, following attacks by UAVs after the units were detected. Russian East Group artillerymen distribute propaganda leaflets to Ukrainian armed forces garrison positions in Hulyai-Pole. Following the East Group's successful operations in Zaporizhia Oblast, Far Eastern soldiers are daily reminding the enemy that the only way to survive is to lay down their weapons. Russian FPV drone operators stationed at potential Ukrainian armed forces supply lines in the direction of Sumy destroyed a two-man Ukrainian infantry group using an ATV and its vehicle. The Ukrainian soldiers didn't even have time to detect the Russian FPV drone. Russian armed forces continued to target Ukrainian military equipment and systems in the Seversk direction. Russian southern forces destroyed a mortar position belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces, part of the 3rd Combined Arms Army. A unit from the 19th Artillery Regiment of the 67th Motorized Division of the Russian Armed Forces launched precision artillery fire on units of the Ukrainian Armed Forces retreating in the direction of Krasnolimansk. The result was a direct hit, preventing the Ukrainian infantry from reaching their positions. Following the work of the 19th Artillery Regiment of the Russian Armed Forces, drone operators from the 16th Special Forces Brigade also intervened and prevented the evacuation of infantry belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces. The Russian Okhotnik Special Forces Unit continues to monitor and disrupt rotational activities of the Ukrainian armed forces. Attempts by the Ukrainian armed forces to rotate the fortified area in the Kostiantynivka district have completely failed, thanks to accurate drone strikes by the Okhotnik Special Forces Unit. UAV teams from the Russian Unmanned Systems Forces destroyed a truck, 3 ground robot systems, reconnaissance and attack UAVs, and UAV control points belonging to the Ukrainian Armed Forces in precision attacks in the Donetsk People's Republic. The Russian armed forces continue to disrupt the logistics of the Ukrainian armed forces during the offensive operation in the Seversk direction. Artillery units from the Russian South Force Group destroyed several crossing points using precision strikes to disrupt the supply of Ukrainian forces. Russian Southern Group troops identified temporary deployment points of the 56th Separate Motorized Infantry Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in the village of Privilya and systematically destroyed them with FPV drone attacks, completely destroying the targets. Another Ukrainian T-64BV tank, which was spotted camouflaged in a wooded area in the Konstantinovka region by UAV operators from the Russian Group of Forces Center, was destroyed. Experts from the International Mine Action Center of the Russian Armed Forces Northern Group of Forces are conducting mine clearance operations in the Belgorod border area. Their primary goal is to detect and destroy explosive ordnance, including munitions dropped by Ukrainian drones, and to prevent potential accidents. A crew of Msta-S self-propelled guns from the 1st Guards Tank Army of the Russian Western Group destroyed a bunker of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Kupiansk direction. During a Russian infantry rotation on the Kharkiv line, a Ukrainian drone spotted a vehicle carrying Russian soldiers and began pursuing it. In such cases, the key is not to miss the moment. That's half the battle. Then, soldiers quickly exited the vehicle, preferably in different directions, and engaged the drone with small arms fire, preventing it from destroying the armored vehicle. Everything was done precisely and flawlessly. As a result, the Ukrainian FPV missed the armored vehicle at the last moment. UAV crews from the Assault Regiment of the Reservoir Dogs Brigade, part of the Russian forces, continue to systematically scan Novopavlovka and the surrounding area, targeting personnel, shelters, and equipment of the 42nd Separate Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. North of Chasiv Yar, units of the Russian Sever 5th Brigade continue their offensive, driving Ukrainian infantry from their positions. During the operation, Russian brigade personnel discovered a fortified position manned by a Ukrainian mortar crew. These crews put up fierce resistance, obstructing the advance of Russian troops. UAVs were deployed to neutralize the Ukrainian forces and the target, forcing the Ukrainian soldiers to retreat. The Russian brigade's artillery crews demonstrated true skill, accurately striking each retreating target. Another Ukrainian position was destroyed. FPV drone operators belonging to the Russian armed forces destroyed a Ukrainian troops truck after detecting it during a reconnaissance mission in the Sumy region. A soldier with the call sign Tourist from the 1st Krasnodar Battalion of the Russian Armed Forces detected and destroyed a Baba Yaga heavy unmanned aerial vehicle belonging to the Ukrainian Armed Forces by precision firing with a ZOV.308 caliber Lobayev arms carbine in the direction of Krasnoarmeysk. An American-made M117 armored personnel carrier belonging to the Ukrainian Armed Forces failed to cross a small embankment near Hulyai Polye and was immediately attacked by 2 Russian FPV drones. The Ukrainian armed forces lost only 18 units from these armored vehicles. The armored vehicles' off-road capabilities proved to be less than impressive. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow and watch our next videos.